never gonna make it to the NBA.
Speaking of the NBA, I wonder if NBA teams shoot better in the regular season or the postseason.
That's a good question. Let's do some research.
Well, for starters, before we begin our research, we'll have to explain what 2-point field goals are and 3-point field goals are. A 2-point field goal is when someone shoots a basket inside the 3-point line. And a 3-point field goal is when they shoot a basket outside the 3-point line. And those two together are the team's field goal percentages, which is the variable that we'll be looking at for our research. Now, I will explain how the playoffs work in the NBA. So for our research, we had to take 16 teams that made the playoffs in the 2015 and 2016 season. So for our research, we had to look at the 16 teams that made the 2016 NBA playoffs. In order to make the playoffs, you have to have a winning record within the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. The top 8 teams from both of those conferences will go on to the playoffs. The way the playoffs works is a simple tournament style. You have to win the best out of 7 games, and the winner moves on to the quarterfinals, semifinals, and eventually the finals. And it's a very simple concept. And yeah, that's how we start off our research.
Our hypothesis states that the higher field goal percentages of NBA teams will be more highly correlated to the regular season success than postseason success. This basically means that teams do better in the regular season because they have less competition. So that means that field goal percentages for the 16 teams that we're looking at will be higher in the regular season than they will in the postseason. Our null hypothesis states that the field goal percentages for the regular season will be greater than or equal to the field goal percentages in the postseason. Our alternative hypothesis stating that the field goal percentages in the regular season will be less than the field goal percentages in the postseason.
Our group, the Quad City DJs, the way we went about collecting our data, the first thing we did was we used cluster sampling. And with that, it came with the 16 teams that makes the NBA playoffs, which is our study group. So our group, the Quad City DJs, went about collecting our data first by doing cluster sampling. And that came from the 16 NBA teams that made the playoffs, which is the top 8 teams in each conference with the best record in the regular season. We poured our data from basketballreference.com, where the shooting percentages and everything was presented to us. At that point, once we got to the website, we chose the top 8 teams on the Eastern and the top 8 teams of the Western, and we put their shooting percentages during the regular season in Excel, and then took the shooting percentages once they made the playoffs and put them to Excel as well.
Using the correlation test, our group found that because the p-value is greater than 0.0001, we fail to reject the null hypothesis and conclude that the 2 shooting percentages among playoffs and regular season are correlated. 95% confidence interval, the correlation values from a 95% confidence interval and correlation from 0.0821 to 0.0824 with a correlation estimate of 0.552. After using the correlation test, we used the one sample t-test for both to see how the 2 groups correlate. After running the t-test for both, we found that the p-value was greater than 0.05, 95% confidence interval from 0.443 to 0.461, with a mean of 0.4525. Next, we ran the sample t-test from the postseason. For the postseason, we found a 95% confidence interval from 0.411 to 0.443, with a mean of 0.427. Since the p-values of both seasons was under 0.05, we used the Shapiro-Wilks test to further our hypothesis. Using the Shapiro-Wilks test, we failed to reject the hypothesis and conclude that the regular season percentages are lower than the postseason percentages.
Yeah, what your bank do? Shawty, what your bank do? Yeah, on my cake, bro. Hey, what your bank do? Yeah, what your bank do? Shawty, what your bank? I woke up with a bank full. Yeah, what a bank full. I'm so thankful. Thank God I'm so grateful. Yeah, on my cake, bro. Hey, what your bank do? Yeah, what your bank do? Shawty, what your bank do? I woke up with a bank full, yeah, with a bank full. I'm so thankful, thank God I'm so grateful. Yeah, on my cake, bro. Hey, what your bank do? Yeah, what your bank do? Shawty, what your bank do? Pull up skirt, what is that? Yeah, Louis shirt, who? Louis hat, yeah.